Hi, I'm ED-SKaR, and today I want to talk about gloves, or more specifically, how gloves affect shooting. So gloves are, of course, a very important piece of PPE, personal protective equipment. When you're playing an airsoft game and running around in concrete and crawling around on the dirt or in nettles, having something to protect your hands is often a good thing. Particularly when people are shooting tiny plastic balls at 1 joule of muzzle energy at you, covering your knuckles can be far more comfortable than not. However, in the getting on for 2 decades that I've been playing airsoft, I have very much resisted wearing gloves. Now, why would I resist wearing PPE? Particularly when I've been a proponent of full face masks rather than goggles and full seal goggles rather than shooting glasses and other things. I'm usually on the side of promoting PPE rather than shying away from it. But in the case of gloves, this does something that I'm apprehensive about, and that is it changes my ergonomics. I'm of the impression that adding this extra layer of material to my hand is going to massively affect how I shoot. But I have recently got myself a pair of fairly cheap airsofting gloves, but they're certainly reasonable gloves and will give me a great deal of protection from the various hazards that I encounter while jumping through abandoned buildings and forests. So I should put them to the test and see whether my apprehension towards wearing gloves is even necessary. Do the gloves change my hand enough that it affects my shooting? And so what I've done is set up a series of drills that I have shot with my airsoft 1911. First shooting it without gloves and then putting the gloves on and shooting the drill again. And we'll see how these gloves affect my performance. Now, before we get going, there are a number of caveats to this tale. First and foremost is my camera is still broken and everything on this side of the screen is still fuzzy. And when I set up my camera angle to do these drills, I put myself in that part of the screen. I should have kind of angled it the other way so that I was on this side. So I apologise for being extra fuzzy in this video today. Another caveat is that I haven't done an awful lot of shooting in quite some time. I'm out of practice, and that's my own fault. To maintain a skilled level when it comes to shooting airsoft pistols or really any kind of precision shooting, regular practice and dry fire drills are quite important, and I've neglected that. So when we go into the drills, you'll see that I'm a little bit slow, a little bit lax, and that my forms are not quite correct. And also, I'm at the field, and it's very windy. I picked the least windy part of the field, but it was still quite windy, so we may have to put up with the noise. So as I go through describing each of the drills, I will detail what the drill includes. I will pick out some points as to why that drill is important and what it's supposed to show. I'll then show the video of the drill and give a conclusion at the end to see whether I picked up on what I was supposed to pick up on and whether I found something else. So let's get started with drill 1, surprisingly enough. For all of the drills, I set up one of our L pallet sections that we've been making for the site as cover. And this particular pallet has 5 slats. And so drill 1 is me starting at a ready position with the pistol in my hand, loaded and ready, bringing it up and presenting, and then shooting a single hit at each of the 5 slats. Now that may mean that I shoot more than 5 because I need to get a hit on each one. Essentially, misses don't count in this case. So what is this drill supposed to show? Well, as I'm starting off with the pistol in my hand, I'm isolating and removing anything about acquiring the grip, about the draw, or anything like that. And this is more about showing the correct grip and how it works, but also the trigger pull. So, for anyone who's been following my channel for a while knows that I spent a great deal of time talking about trigger pull in Nerf and how it's all horribly wrong and how to fix it. So the distance around the grip, including the trigger, is very important when it comes to pulling the trigger. When you are aiming at your target and you have your finger in the trigger guard, when you pull the trigger and get to the break point, you are forming a ring with your thumb into your palm, into your trigger finger, and then joining in between your finger and thumb. And generally speaking, at the break point, your finger and thumb should just about not quite touch. Now that distance, that ring around, is going to be affected by any material that's in between your hand and the grip. By adding a glove, we add a lot of material around the entire length of that. And so, when I pull the trigger like this, you'll see that that gap is bigger because of all the material on my thumb, my palm, and all the way around my trigger finger. And so drill 1, a simple sequence of shots on 5 separate targets, is going to show me if wearing the glove is pulling my shots. It's quite possible that even at the short range that I was shooting, that difference will result in my accuracy being off. I might have to do a lot of training in the gloves to correct for that, so that I aim naturally with the gloves on. So let's run the footage of drill 1. I ran this twice without gloves and twice with gloves. And conveniently empty at exactly the right time. And of course, going back to my caveat of I haven't shot in a while, these are the first shots that I shot that day. I didn't even do a test shoot because why would I bother with that? Every round shot is a round of training. And so what did I learn? Well, I learned that it wasn't that significant. Either my lack of practice for the last far too long, or the age of this pistol. This is 40,000 rounds old now. With or without gloves, it was pulling slightly to the right. And I'll have to just get a lot more trigger time in to see whether this is the pistol pulling to the side or whether it's my grip pulling to the side. However, I found that it pulled equally with or without the gloves. So moving on to drill 2. So drill 2 is drawing from a holster and getting a single hit. Now this has a number of nuances that you might not realise. When drawing from a holster, the first thing that you do is get a grip on the grip. So does having a glove on affect where I put my hand in when I'm doing it in a hurry? Does it slow me down? And while in drill 1 I found that the glove doesn't affect my point of aim when I have a good grip, if I'm drawing in a hurry, do I get a good grip with the pistol? Also, as I'm drawing, I'm disengaging the safety catch, and as I'm reholstering afterwards, I'm putting the safety catch back on. So there's a number of small features going on in this. And now, drill 2. So what did I find out from drill 2? Well, for the most part, it was very much the same with and without the gloves. However, on one occasion, my glove got caught on the beaver tail. And this particular pistol doesn't have much of a beaver tail. This is an A1 configuration. But what I'm used to is coming straight down on the grip and getting the web of my thumb in on the grip safety, kind of straight down. Which means when I add to my hand in the form of a glove, when I come down, if I'm in exactly the same place, this line of stitching here can line up with the back here, this little nub part of the grip safety. If my hand is slightly further down, I can grab, push up, and it'll be fine. But that's something I should train around so that I intentionally bring my hand slightly further back so that I grab it and push up rather than coming directly straight down, because I can miss that by just enough that that line of stitching gets caught. So drill 3, this is a single hit, reload, and then a single hit. So not many rounds shot here, but it's more related to the reload. So I'll start from a ready position, shoot a single round, withdraw a full magazine from my magazine pouch, swap it over, which means I need to put the safety on, hit the magazine release button, switch it over, and then put that magazine back away in the pouch, which I thought was going to be quite difficult, and we'll find out whether that is. Safety off, and a single round. Now the magazine pouches I'm using are fabric pouches with a Velcro top, and Velcro versus a glove doesn't necessarily end well, but let's find out how I did. And now drill 3. So as you saw there, dealing with the magazine pouch with the gloves didn't go well. However, it didn't slow me down all that much. And if I move over to a Kydex magazine pouch, that problem won't exist at all. Most of the reloading went fairly well. However, on 2 occasions when reloading with the gloves, when I switched the magazine over and pushed it in, the magazine didn't seat correctly. When I'm not wearing a glove, there's just a little bit of the pistol showing, so that when I press my palm up against the base of the magazine, there's nothing in the way of this hand coming in to push the magazine up, and so the magazine will lock into place. However, when wearing a glove, there is now an awful lot of glove sticking up below the line of the magazine well, and so when I go to tap in that magazine, it doesn't necessarily go in all the way. Also, the glove on my little finger can interfere with the lip at the toe of the magazine, preventing it from going in all the way. Now, in both cases during my drill, I just tapped it in again, giving it a little more force from the correct angle, and that was absolutely fine. So is that a massive problem? I don't think it is. However, it's something I know now, and it's something I can work around, and something I can train for. So drill 4. Now this is a one-handed shot, simply with my dominant hand. I'm right-handed. And this comes from how I often practically use a pistol in airsoft games. Usually I'm carrying a rifle or submachine gun, or more often than not, a shotgun. And there is this general idea that you only ever use a pistol when your primary has a problem. It runs out of ammunition, or it jams or breaks or something, and you need to take a shot very quickly. Now I have found that not very common. And usually when I'm using a pistol, it's because I'm going through extremely tight spaces. And so generally I will have my primary and I will hold it down on the sling using my support hand and use just my dominant hand with the pistol. Generally speaking, these engagements are at much closer than my pallet target is in the drill. So shooting one-handed at this distance is more than enough. But this is to show how the grip is changed by wearing a glove. Harking back to what we saw in drill 1 with 2 hands, now we're doing sort of the same thing with one hand. Drill 4, one-handed. And I'll also throw in for A here, instead of 5 hits, it's just a single hit. So this puts much more emphasis on getting the grip as I'm drawing from the holster. And I think what we've learned there is that I need to practice my one-handed shooting a lot more than I need to practice anything else. With a glove, of course. But wearing the glove or not wearing the glove, while it has had some impact there, it has not had a big impact. Okay, drill 5. This is where things get a little more fun, pushing more towards the IPSC style of things, which is what I really want to be doing with guns and how I much prefer to shoot. So in this drill, I simply step off of camera, run into my shooting spot, draw the pistol, shoot 5 shots, at which point the pistol will lock open, 4 rounds in the magazine, 1 in the chamber, do a reload, and in doing the reload quickly, I'm not putting the magazine back away. I'm retaining the magazine in my offhand and holding it up and shooting the last round one-handed. And what this is going to show is how it's tying everything together, including movement, which is important because if you're not moving in an airsoft game, you're probably out. And so we have moving, turning to present to the target, getting the grip in the holster, drawing, safety off, two-handed grip, shooting the 5 rounds that's loaded, slide locks open, changing the magazine but actually retaining the empty and not trying to put it back in the pouch. I then have to close the slide, and I'm going to see whether hitting the slide release or doing a power stroke is preferable. With an empty magazine in my hand, the power stroke might be a little more difficult, but I'll give it a go. And then a single round, single-handed to finish things off. Okay, final drill. So there we go, that's that. And I'm pretty sure that what we showed there in that last drill, drill 5, was that the difference between not wearing gloves and wearing gloves isn't as big as I thought it was. Certainly there is some difference, and certainly I do need to do some training, but I need to do some training anyway because I'm kind of out of practice. So if you enjoy this content, please consider leaving me a comment, as that's the sort of thing that keeps me going. And if you know anyone who's interested in this kind of thing, do send them a link. I'm ED-SKaR, I always will be. Thank you very much for watching, and for anyone who's managed to get to this part of the video, I will show you my drill 6, which was never meant to show anything interesting. It was just meant to be fun, because of course I own more than one airsoft pistol, and I have 2 hands and 2 gloves, so surely I can test them together. And one more. Last one's not really much of a drill, just really fun. Didn't learn anything useful, but we had fun, and isn't that equally valuable?